lucky to know this place because, look, I know it sounds like bullshit, but it is as real as it gets because Mohawk's never going to be a success. 99% of the bands it supports are never going to turn into like worldwide megastars. That doesn't mean they don't play great fucking shows and have a great fucking time every night. And the only reason you ever love rock and roll is so when you watch a show or you listen to a record, you get totally out of yourself. I love this place. And I love the fact that it's closing. You don't want to end up like some kind of fake club preserved in amber. Mohawk's had its day, and it was a great day. And it needs to shut down now because it's had a great fucking day.
It's a changing of the guards for sure. This is definitely gonna, a lot of the older people are gonna have to try to find a new place to feel comfortable acting like a kid again. I think the Mohawk was seminal in that as far as keeping people young. I think that was one of the great things about it is it was as soon as you get in that door, you have no right to be pretentious about anything. You have to be just a showgoer, and it made up, even in bands, it made you a showgoer. It was great.
Let me use this time to pay tribute to some of the most fucking amazing people you've met in this whole duration of being a band. We have a friend named Shinobu. She flew all the way from Tokyo, Japan to be here tonight. Come on. Shinobu. Don't hurt her. She's very fragile. Just step that way. Okay. Let's do this circle pit, motherfuckers.
Mohawk Place lived 23 booze-riddled years at 47 East Mohawk Street. 23 years of epic shows and unforgettable nights. Nights cast with characters you'd think only existed in folklore, and characters who certainly only existed at night. Lives were shaped at 47 East Mohawk Street, for better and for worse, but it was always there when you needed it. Mohawk Place is survived by the bands, the bartenders, and Pete, the man with the fabulous hair and stellar mustache, the original owner who greeted them all warmly at the door, night in and night out. its final days, Mohawk Place was literally falling apart. Music was its foundation, and the bands and the fans had built it up as tall as it could possibly go. The regulars who cycled in and out over the years had made Mohawk Place what it was. But the glory days were now a distant memory, one that no one wanted to let go of. Most said it felt different after Pete had sold the bar. That old black magic was slowly falling out of the hat. Everyone remembers the terrifying bathrooms. Everyone remembers the random press photos hanging on the wall. This is not Mohawk Place A to Z. This is a document of its final days.
This is like the place to come play. If you're a punk rock band or a hardcore band, you can put 50 kids in here, you can put 300 kids in here, and it's awesome.
You could get close to the bands, so it basically kind of brought the fan and the band kind of together.
Gives you that great feeling of being 14 years old and walking into a shitty bar for the first time. I went to a show and found out about a hardcore community, and all of a sudden I'm in this dingy bar and people are playing instruments and everyone's sweating on each other and screaming, and I thought it was amazing.
It's underground music, and in terms of a home for underground music, it's not something that it just shows up every day. Like, it's special, and this is a spot for honesty, whether you're like indie rock or country or punk or hardcore or metal or whatever it is. There's even been hip-hop shows here, so I appreciate the fact that it's, you know, it's run based on heart and not finance.
If you meet a musician between the ages of 28 and 37, 38, that decade, they know the Mohawk Place. They played there for sure.
Everyone that came here was here because there were bands playing. If there weren't bands playing, they wouldn't come. Like 20 different friends of yours from different bands would all be here, and that's what gave it that community, because every week you stayed in touch and you went to each other's shows.
It was just so much fun because those nights you could just let everything go, and you, like I said, you weren't really yourself.
I think the fact that back then, you know, the overhead was so low on the bands that the fact that it was like a $5 cover almost all the time really didn't deter anybody.
You know, it was a cool place because it was off the beaten path. It was away from Chippewa. It was, you know, it was just so outside of that scene, and the people who went there, they always knew, you know, this is our scene and this is where we're going and this is our clubhouse.
Tell me about the first time you ever came to the Mohawk Place.
At the end of November 2012, the time had come to tell everyone that Mohawk Place would be closing. The staff had known since August, and word was slowly getting out to more and more people. The rumors were confirmed. The bad news was made official. The weeks that followed allowed everyone to ask their questions about the closing, but answers were hard to find. Before the doors were locked for good, in its 2 final nights, characters past and present were invited to come share their experiences of Mohawk Place. They were invited to say their final goodbyes.
Mike Doctor. I started working here, my first show, actually Question Mark and the Mysterians. Is there a date on the poster? Was it 1995 or 6? My very first show working here. Yeah, you know, I played here with my my band Dolly Watchers 1 or 2 times beforehand. And, you know, started coming down for lunch during the day, hanging out with Barry, having to make me a burger behind the counter, and that's when I really got to know Pete and, you know, befriended him and you know, got offered, you know, to come in and work a night or two, and it all took off from there. You know, there was a community. You know, it wasn't just a place to come and see bands. You know, all the bands would hang out. It didn't matter who was playing, if it was a good band or not. All the bands in town would come down, and non-band members, and just hang out. And if the band was bad, you know, they'd watch a few songs and hang out at the bar, and we'd entertain. And if the band was really bad, then we'd do most of the entertaining, and, you know, and you know, hopefully make everybody feel a little bit numb for a while, where, you know, all of a sudden the band sounded a little bit better, and they'd go up and start screaming, hooting a little bit, and eventually, just, you know, it always ended up in just a fun little party. You know, it was it's something I've never experienced anywhere else.
I'll be there. I'm Bill Neal. I started working here in the spring of 1999. I've been coming here for quite a couple of years. At the time, I worked at Newell Record and record store, independent record store, and Marty Boratin worked there with me, and he was booking a lot of shows here while Jack Hunter was booking as well, and he was always going on about the place, and started coming down myself, really enjoyed it, got to know Pete, started writing articles for the shows at Art Voice. You know, just hung out here quite a bit. I just came down here one night and Pete wasn't here, and I left this long note to Pete saying I'd be willing to do it, you know, at any expense, you know, whatever. He called me the next day at New World and just said, "Do you want to work tomorrow?" And that show was Scary Chicken and the Red Gills. You know, I enjoyed working with all the other guys, but Doctor and I had an instant rapport together, and it was great. It was awesome.
We went far above and beyond with just cracking beers and pouring drinks. Did you feel like part of the family? Did you feel like you were working for some kind of greater purpose?
It's kind of like one of those jobs, and I think, you know, any bartender is, you know, responsible for trying to keep his customers here. But, you know, with us, it was like, you know, if it wasn't just taking care of people that wanted to drink, it's taking people that wanted to talk about music and talk about the pictures on the wall, and force yourself into a history that maybe you knew some of, and some of creating. I didn't feel like there was any greater purpose happening other than I just want to make sure everybody was going to have a great time whenever they came in. If somebody came in to see a show and they were sitting here with a long face, God damn it, they're going to have a good time whether they liked it or not. I was going to make damn sure of that.
All right, what's your name and what do you do here?
Pat Shaughnessy, bartender, Mohawk Place.
When did you start working here?
Probably about 9 years ago.
What was that like?
Do you remember the time when you were young? The world was new and everything used to shine in your eyes.
It was crazy. My first night here, worked with Mike Doctor, who was a bar manager back then. My training was he handed me a beer opener, said, "These are the beers, these are the prices, go take care of them." And it was a William the Reinhardt's crowd. There's probably like 200 people in here, and I was completely overwhelmed. But that was the start of the greatest 9 years of my life.
So you've been playing in bands for God knows how long. When did you start playing here?
So I've been playing here right through since '94. It was just one of those cool places you could come and hang out. You know, the bartenders behind the bar were super cool. They knew about music. They loved music. It wasn't just some dude behind a bar serving you beer. You could talk music with him. He knew about the bands that were playing. You could hang out with the bands here that were playing. So if you came here to see somebody you liked, chances are they were hanging out at the bar with you, doing shots, drinking beers. It was just a cool hangout for the music community. Even the times when I'm supposed to be working here and you come here and you're like, God, I gotta fucking go to work after working all day, and you drag your ass here and it's like within half an hour we're all like busting balls and joking. It's been the best time, you know. It's like even till 4 in the morning when you're here and your ass is dragging. Everybody here makes it so much fun.
I think the first time was when my band Girlpope opened up for a band called the Loud Family here. It was on a small stage. They were touring around, and Marty Boratin brought them to town, and we opened for them. This was kind of a new place. I didn't really know anything about it. And so it was the first time I'd ever been here was when we played.
Why was this different than every other venue in Buffalo?
It was different because, first of all, they had weird bands like the Loud Family and some other underground bands. And there wasn't like a huge expectation that they packed the place. Plus it was small, so if you had 50 people, it was packed. And really, when we started playing here, and soon after, Pete, the owner, was very generous with his time, and just, he was a nice guy who, you know, didn't treat us like jerks. So this place is really important to me because even though we were a little bit established by the time we started playing here, it was really difficult to deal with bar owners, it is in general, promoters. And this was the only place that I felt respected, not necessarily as a band or as somebody that brought people into the bar, but just as a person and as somebody who could have ideas and could present them and get to play in front of my friends and have a good time.
When we first started playing in a band, I looked at this place and, all right, let's get there. How can we get there?
It's where musicians came. It's where the people in bands came. It's where you knew that you would be able to be around people that you respect, people that respected you.
You know, for so many years when you're growing up playing in bands, like it's just, you play terrible shows in front of no one, and then when you started playing here, like, you learned that you could actually do it. Like, there was a lot of people at your shows, you feel like, well, here's your platform, here's your stage. Like, you just come up with the right material, you start playing in the right bands, writing the right songs, and like, this could be the start of something for you.
You still had to go through like a screening. You couldn't just be a kid in a shitty band that would call the bar and like, hey, we want a show, and you'd be like, all right, I can give you a Tuesday. You couldn't do that back then. It was Marty waited to see if a band was good and allowed you to either open for someone or give you like a Thursday night show.
Yeah, like you said a minute ago, like that it didn't matter who was playing here. But I think, like, just because we were here, like, it did matter, because you were at Mohawk Place, so you know it was going to be good. And, like, over the years, you'd come here, and whenever you saw a really terrible band here, you'd be like, what are they doing here? Like, this is Mohawk Place. Like, right. You know.
No, they came here because they were in support of the bands, and they wanted to see them, and they would spend their entire night here. And so, as a kid, you would come here, sneak in for some show, and it seemed like this grown-up world. When you're at that age, bands still have a mystery to them because you are not a good band yet. You may not even play. At the time we played, but you're trying, like, rock and roll still had that mystery to it. They're like, rock and roll I wonder what that's like to be in a band and to do this and to play shows and have people around. It seemed like you were like getting a glimpse of like the inside of the scene. You lose that illusion because you're in a band long enough and you realize that there's nothing special about it. You just go about your business and you have jokes and you know this guy and you know that guy and that girl.
Yeah, I mean, to most people, like, you know, you see guys like, you know, Mark, Jimmer, Mike, like on the street, like they're just people. Like, but to people like us who started coming here, they were like kind of just
they were the rock and roll gods.
You came here like you like Bill and Mike behind the bar. You were like, these dudes are cool as fuck, man.
Yo,
right? And then you look up there, and there's Jimmer Fuck Man, you know, Fuck Man.
No one like Jimmer exists anymore.
They don't.
They don't. They just don't exist in any city.
You get tossed out on this fucking bar and not leave one of us play.
There's going to be a huge void now with this place being gone. There's no more venues left. And when we were younger, we had all sorts of venues. We had, you know, the Mercury, we had the Show Place, we had the Atomic, we had the Continental, we had the Bass Bar, we had the Backstage Pub. We had so many, the Cruise, and there's so many places to play when we were, you know, when we were younger kids and, you know, and early adults. And now, like, if a venue closed then, it was like, okay, there were still options. It wasn't the end of the world to me. And from, you know, being a guy who also plays here and also works here, this sucks, man. I don't know what we're going to do now. It's going to be a void this year.
We put a lot of effort into, if someone's going to come to this show, they're going to want to come to the next one.
The beautiful thing about playing at this place was when someone would come and ask you to play at this place. Like, you wouldn't send in a submission. You wouldn't say, hey, let me email you my demo. You'd
be asked.
People would see you play.
Marty would ask you, can you play this show? And you would play.
Yeah. When Marty Boratin came in, he was just booking bands that he wanted to see. The truth is, when I got started, because I was doing shows after Marty was doing shows there, and I was helping him, you know, promote and do things. And then when I got my chance to do shows there, it was the same thing. I was doing shows there because there were bands I wanted to see. And I think that's really part of this. The main core of it for me is that it was always about the passion. They were the reason that so many things happened there. Being willing to let people kind of just come in and take it over and trust people like, you know, Marty or myself or Chris Ring, whoever it was bringing the show in. And also, Marty was just really the one, he was like the vanguard. He was the first guy to say, hey, I'm going to try to do this show here. Again, he was the one, he booked the White Stripes there. The week they were on the cover of NME, Marty had them playing there in August. He did them. He was the first one to do the Black Keys. And now I get to do the Black Keys outside for 10,000 people, but Marty was doing them at the Mohawk for 40 people first. And, you know, it was, what he did was amazing for Buffalo.
And, you know, we started doing this in the early 90s, 600 calendars we'd print out every month and mailed out 300 every month. Every Saturday, that's all I did was work on press. And, instead of just, emailing, hitting send to like 20 different people, it was actually taking and printing out 20 copies of a press release, sending out 20 photos, burning 20 copies of a CD or even cassette before that, making all the flyers and then going and printing the flyers and hanging all the flyers all over town. But that also gave you much more of a connection.
2013 is a very lazy year. People feel like they can kind of let the internet do all the hard work for them, right? With the shift in how people find music, it's kind of diminished the need in certain bands' eyes to actually have quality music, which is crazy. 10 years ago, and especially when the Mohawk was in its heyday, it was a hub to find people where they're out there building relationships, making great friendships, talking about their bands, and really having the passion to go out there and talk about it and meet people and really sell it. Now it's a very passive thing.
It's that weird catch-22 where bands feel as though, because of social media and whatnot, that they don't have to work as hard as other people hitting the streets flyering. But the flip side is, because of social media, then it's made it so accessible, you kind of have to work even harder. And so in that regard, I think it's a lot tougher. And I think it's a lot harder now for bands to really stand out from the rest than it was back in the day. So I think it's, if they revert back to the old school of like hitting the streets, building those personal relationships, one-on-one interaction, going to a show, seeing a kid, buy my demo. You see him at the next show. Why didn't you buy my demo last week? How was the demo? You have to acknowledge the fans, these kids that are coming to your shows.
The people that seem to go to shows at the Mohawk are the people that 6 months, 8 months later, whatever, you're touring band, they're the people that are going to be back next time. And you walk in and you might not remember a name, but you're like, you were right up front singing a couple of words, and now you know a whole bunch more words, and you're singing all this stuff, and there seems to be a core of people there that are really into seeing music and that will come back to the next show, which is a big deal, and bring a couple more friends to the show after that. And you don't get that often enough. It goes a long way.
But it's just a change of the times. Like I personally don't care if kids download it. If kids come to the shows and have a good time, you can steal the music. I don't give a fuck. All I care about is, I don't care how you get the music, just come to the shows and have a good time. That's all that matters to me.
This sucks. I'm really bummed that this is happening, but again, hopefully this is, an opportunity for all of us to band together and build a new thing, build a new place, and take what we have here and bring it into the next generation and have somewhere for the kids that are coming up to play.
Sentimental. 1, 2. Oh yeah, that's crispy. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. 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 Check 1, 2. 1, 2. What's that?
Flannel brother.
What's your name and what did you do at this lovely establishment?
My name is Neal Brodfuehrer. For the last 5 years, I've been a sound engineer at Mohawk Place. Well, man, what I always loved about coming to Mohawk Place is with, all the other venues I went to, as a kid and coming up in the Buffalo music scene, I always really enjoyed coming here because of the atmosphere. This place always had something special. I always felt like this was a place by musicians, for musicians. Every time I come here, all the great friends I've made, all the great conversations I had, it always ended in like some epic music conversations, and like every show, no matter how small or how big here, always had a good vibe to it. I always had a really good time and always felt welcome and at home here and never discriminated against or never felt uncomfortable here, and that was my favorite part about coming to Mohawk Place when I first started coming here, and then obviously that's progressed into what it is now.
When you came in and you brought this new sound system in, like, what do you think that did for this venue's image?
Well, I mean, that was literally the only, in my opinion, obviously as a musician and sound engineer, blah, 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 was the only downfall of this place is, when I first started working here, we had the old system here, nothing ever worked. Bands were bummed out coming in here because it's such a cool place, everybody had such a great time, and the sound was so lackluster, and that will take away. I mean, you guys all know, you all play in bands, it sucks when you have a crappy sound for your setting. And, putting this new system here opened us up to worlds of different shows that we couldn't do beforehand. We couldn't bring artists here like we have in the last 4 years because of that. And that was the biggest part of it. And it gave this place a new birth and a new buzz. Everybody wanted to come to Mohawk now because they wanted to play on this new kick-ass sound system. And it totally gave, a rebirth to this place as far as that goes, and locally and on a national level. And really brought, a new reputation and a new stigma to this place. I mean, setting up a show, obviously, this is your sound console right here that, feeds all your inputs from, kick, snare, rack, floor, all the way down the line through guitars and vocals. This is your EQ section, your dynamics, effects, monitor EQ. That's, that's your whole front of house system here.
It was a fucking crapshoot that we all ended up here, and they ended up meeting you guys. I think the magic of the Mohawk is that it's small enough to feel like you're in a basement show, but it's pro enough and big enough to feel like you're sharing experience with a lot of people. It's the perfect size. every time I play here, it's the most important thing to me in the world. I feel like the room just gives back energy, and I don't know how you're going to find that again.
What's your name and what have you done for Mohawk Place?
My name is Ruben. I've played in bands, promoted shows, gone to shows. I had some of the best times of my life here. One of my favorite things about it is that everyone comes from a different world, and we're all kind of here because, like, there's 1,000,001 bars that play generic, horrible, corporate influenced, ignorant music, and this is a spot for honesty, whether you're like indie rock or country or punk or hardcore or metal or whatever it is. There's even been hip hop shows here. So I appreciate the fact that it's, you know, it's run based on heart and not finance.
For us, this place is filled with flyers and pictures and mirrors and neons, but everybody wants a piece of it and they want to take something with them. Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think that these objects just on the wall mean more to people?
Well, because they're not just objects on the wall. They have a sentimental value that represents a time in that person's life that obviously they feel very strongly about.
Can I just take a second? I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. There's been a lot of publicity, obviously, about all the bands who've played here and all the great things that have happened here. But this place is as much about the people who've worked so hard to bring all those shows, and not always under the best and easiest of conditions. A lot of people who've worked here over the years have sacrificed so much, including their health, to make this place run. So people like Marty, Bill, Eric, Nick O'Brien, Donnie Kotzbach, Renee Roberts. I hate to say it, but yeah. And I'm forgetting a lot of people.
I keep looking at that clock and I forget that it's not there because Lafferty stole it. Lafferty took it last weekend. I'm like, I need that clock. He's like, you have a phone? It's got the time on it? I'm like, yes, but that clock has always been there. I always know. I can just glance up there real quick.
It's going in your fucking pocket.
Plus, if my hands are filthy or full of beer bottles, I don't want to be reaching in my pocket. I don't know I'm putting that. I got way too attached to this place over the years and passed up probably better opportunities to stay here, knowing how much this place meant to the community and how much this place has meant to me. I don't know, just took on lots of extra burdens and it just became my life. So it's going to be weird not having this place to come to. I don't even know what I would have done if I had left here for something else and it was still open. I don't know if I would still come down at all or if I would be here every day that I could. Hello, how are you?
I am Jason Draper. I first started coming because friends' bands were playing here and wanted to see them, and then got to know everyone that worked here and became friends, and then it just became my home in Buffalo. I haven't drank or anything in 15 years, actually longer than that, but usually going to bars, I'd go to see bands, but I would never go just to hang out because it was awkward for me. I never knew what to do with my hands and just awkward in general. But here, I just instantly became friends with the people who worked here, and it was never has once felt awkward being here for me.
Never an issue.
No, it was actually, that's one of the reasons I grew to love it here, is because I never had any concerns about fitting in or anything.
Yeah.
I started booking shows because of here, just because it was a venue that I knew that I could do shows at, and they were very helpful, and I learned how to be one of the worst DJs in Buffalo. For the past 10 years doing that, I can't believe that still goes on. But yeah, I mean, I learned how to just book shows that with friends I meet out of town to bring them into town to help expose them to more people. And Mohawk and the staff has been very helpful in all of that, and I'm gonna miss that a lot.
What are you guys doing with my coat?
It's time to hang it up. Get it? Come on, that's a good one.
You guys, you're not playing tonight. Get out.
Where's my phone? Is my phone there? It's right there. Yes. Yes.
Don is in the hospital with his kid. He said he's trying to get out as soon as possible. I told him I'll work the door for the beginning. So
Oh my god, Pat Damchan's in here. My phone's not working.
Did you have it plugged in all the way?
Oh my god.
No, that's not plugged in.
There's a problem.
playing this place for 11 years. We're gonna miss it a lot. Yeah, I've been walking in the street, walking out into the street, just trying to find it. There's someone who cares. So about the way I really feel, everything I thought was real, but when I look back, there's nobody there.
These are what can only be described as the luxury practice spaces here at Mohawk, upstairs above the bar. Okay, this would be the second floor. We actually used to practice right down this hallway. We've had three, the band I play in, Johnny Nobody, we've had 3 rooms in this place. As you can see, the place is not in the greatest of shape. Looks like someone has vacated or begun the process of moving out. So I think it would be appropriate to come down and see one of the world's most disgusting bathrooms. These rooms were tailored for sound, so. But no, it was a great place to practice. I mean, you play shows downstairs, you just bring all your stuff right downstairs and bring it up at the end of the night.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. This is the last song we're going to play here.
We're from the great state of Ohio, just down the road. We're the outcasts for the 2 evenings. We're the only band from out of town that's playing. But this place means so much to us. It really means so much to us. Thank you so much for having us.
playing show after show after show after show after show where nobody gives a fuck about what you're doing, you know what I mean? And, you know, there's like the place in St. Louis that cares. And then there's the place in Buffalo that cares. And you tour for a month to get to that one show where you know that people are going to care. And sometimes it's in a blizzard and you play on the small stage and there's still like 20 people there who are like, who cares, it's a blizzard. We're here to see you play, and that makes everything that you've done for the last month worthwhile.
Well, you feel a strange, it's running through your veins. Internalize the pain of all the things that you will never be, ever be.
Doing this for 12 years, we still don't get treated well very often. Let alone like when we come here, feel like part of a family and part of outsiders on the community a little bit. And that was all because of the Mohawk. It was this community, and we got to be a part of that, so we're very lucky. I mean, just from a Columbus aspect, because we had pretty much the same situation happen. We had a club called Little Brothers that was pretty much the Mohawk equivalent, same bands, but everybody came there because that was the place to play. All the touring bands came through, and 5 years or so ago, they closed down, and bands just started skipping Columbus, you know. So now people play Cincinnati, and depending on which route they're taking, play Cincinnati then Cleveland, or Cleveland and Cincinnati. And Columbus went from being a A-, B+, to now we're a C- market, you know, C market. We don't get tours when the people are releasing records, you know. We get the second time around. You know, 6 months after the record's been out, we get people coming through. People just start skipping us in general. Bigger acts, you know, because there's not the bigger acts for that, you know, 300 to 500 capacity. Like, people just start skipping you, and people don't get to see those shows anymore.
That being said, though, Columbus doesn't necessarily have the galvanized unit of people that Buffalo has that are behind doing it. And I think that's one of the reasons that I've always loved to come and play the Mohawk Place, is because it was a group of people who were so determined and jaded and funny and sarcastic about it, but so determined that it was going to be exactly what they wanted it to be, and come hell or high water, that was going to happen. And
out of context, everybody in this room, you know, we're all standing here doing this right now because of the Mohawk. And it wasn't a club where you were treated like another jerk in a band. Yeah, it was our first second home.
When I'm not home for weeks at a time doing this, like, there's a purpose behind it, and there's actually a real thing happening. It's not just Dad's gone for whatever, you know what I mean? And a place like the Mohawk is a place that is a shining jewel of that. Like, I can show Jack pictures of this weekend and be like, here's what I did with my life.
This is where I was.
This is what I did. And like, the picture of everybody in the street, I can be like, that is something that I did, and I did it well enough that it meant something to other people. It meant enough to people in another town that they asked us to come the last night of something that meant the world to them.
It's a changing of the guards for sure. This is definitely gonna you know, a lot of the older people are going to have to try to find a new place to feel comfortable acting like a kid again. It was the last place where those guys could still go and be like, all right, I don't feel like I'm too old for this anymore. I still can see bands that I want to see. Everyone still has the right attitude. It's not being festooned with little teenagers with weird haircuts. You know, it was really kind of this little island where you could still get a taste of what the local scene is like. The longer you go and the further away you get from there, when you're playing maybe a festival with a barricade and, you know, there's no intimacy in the crowd, you really develop that longing to get back to where it all started and why you were doing it in the first place. And the Mohawk Place was, you know, readily available to just hand that back to you and say this is what it was all about when you did it, you know, for the right reasons. Playing there and doing 3 Christmas shows there or 2 Christmas shows in a day, you gotta prove yourself again to let Buffalo know that you haven't drifted too far, you know what I mean? And it really serves as this anchor, this focal point of we can still come back, we're still going to do this because this is exactly what we want to do. And you know, you talk about watching bands there getting older and seeing them now for the 20th time as opposed to the first time you saw them. People are getting older and heavier and their hair is getting thinner. I really think that if you can go back and play shows there and small ones like that, you feel young. You know, it's revitalizing and you feel young again. And so I do think it's unfortunate to see you know, dudes that you'll always remember as being like the spry young little guitar player jumping off everything, to now where, you know, just kind of taking breaks and sitting down in between songs. But it can't be like that for us. We still have everything to prove, and the Mohawk Place was a place that we could go back and do it.
Well, all right. Here we are, Every Time I Die, from Buffalo, New York. Back in Buffalo, New York, it is a fucking honor to be here. And I would like to thank everybody that works at Mohawk Place for making all of this fucking possible. All of this. Once they're gone, we're gonna lose a very important staple of this fucking beautiful city. I would like to thank you guys so fucking much for being a part of this. One of the final celebrations. Come on. I wrote this song about each and every single one of you. I want to be dead with my friend! 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 Bring your motherfucking heads!
But Pete supported us all the way through our good decisions and bad.
Pete is he's a real character. He's one of these guys who, he looks like he just stepped off of this, you know, set of a movie.
I think, you know, Pete was extremely important to the success of Mohawk Place. I mean, he opened it, he was there the longest. He was there every night, you know, he befriended the bands, he made people feel comfortable. even, when I started going there as a young punk rock hardcore kid, when originally they weren't that receptive to doing hardcore and punk shows, Pete was always welcoming. He always treated us with the same respect as he did the other promoters. And that kind of trickled down and made the staff kind of treat us well. And then, all the patrons that came to the show. So everybody kind of went to Mohawk, always felt welcome.
Pete was always like, do whatever you want. I know it's going to be right. It's your place. Yeah, you can do whatever you want to make the most of it.
I really miss Pete. Ever since Pete's been gone, I've been like, it's not the Mohawk anymore, but, I'm going to miss that. I'm going to miss him.
Pete is a great guy, and he gave us a lot of really cool opportunities to do really special things.
There was a huge sense of community with the club, and Pete was like everybody's lovable, brother, uncle, father, grandfather, depending on your age. And he was a big music person. Before he sold it, he had kind of tired of the business when he bought the building. I think it was like 1990 or so. It was a place for him to hang out with his buddies, book in blues and rockabilly bands, do hot rod shows out on the street. And, 15 years later, it was, having to schlep down there from, up in East Amherst, 3-4 nights a week to, a 8-band hardcore show and, clean up the bathrooms after, some kid would rip the sink off the wall. And it just, it wasn't a lot of fun for Pete anymore. And that didn't help matter, so.
As we were the guys who always had to feel like we were throwing the party, hey, maybe sometimes the partying got the best of us. It got the best of me for a while. And when it was time to duck out, it was time to duck out, and I have no regrets about leaving when I did. There's a lot of changes going on in the music scene, and with the bar, we'd expanded and we're doing some different music, and it was the right time. I guess my generation of it had passed. A lot of us started getting older and wanted to start families, and it's not a business to be in and have a family. You have to make your choices, and I think we all chose well. I don't think any of us have any regrets about what we did here.
I think it's for me, it was just the drinking got too out of hand, where it wasn't so much a party anymore as just kind of like a coping mechanism. I'd always been a heavy drinker, but just some personal things had happened, and it just seemed like the worse things got personally, the more and more I drank. So it wasn't a very, very rare was it a kind of a fun time anymore. There was a part where this was my life, and I told Donnie before is that it becomes your life, and for a while that's fine, but after a while it become unhealthy, and so I'm glad to have been part of it. Hopefully greater things await all of us. So, Thanks.
There will come a day when enough has been said and no one is listening. When the tired fall and the lonely weep. When daggers come like relief pitchers galloping to the mount. Your skin is paper, and you're tucked in tight to a hospital bed begging for more blankets and ice chips. There will be times like these, when canes turn to crutches, and then into electric wheelchairs with stubby black joysticks. The night manager pounds on your motel room door while you scrape together the last bits of loose change. There's desperation in the air. Smells like sweat and dry meat. An old man begging for one more shot at the title, but it won't happen. All that's left for you is a freshman class full of salivating med students, fondling their scalpels while the loans pile up. There comes a day when your future is black, and every moment that came before it seems to be drenched in happy little lies. Today is that day. Now is that time. Bring me your vultures, a sweet gang of panting redheads. I'll give them all that I was and nothing that I am. Let them take what they want from me, my lungs, teeth, and fingernails. I won't need them anymore. When there's nothing left but red dust and used records, let them devour the sun and shit out the stars. Forever pilgrim and fact-checker, straining to catch one last glimpse at how the cowboys used to ride and how the fire used to dance. There are no more rabbits, only empty hats.